Shabbat Shalom. I saw the police lined up on the first march over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I knew we weren't going to make it to Montgomery. I suddenly heard gunshots followed by screams. People lay everywhere, bleeding. It seemed like it had lasted an eternity. This account of Bloody Sunday comes from Joanne Bland, who at the age of 11 marched alongside 600 others from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery in 1965 for the right of African Americans to vote. By the time of the march, Joanne had already been in jail 13 times. Joanne was one of the many remarkable people who we spoke with when Beth brought a group of 8th through 12th graders to Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Selma, Montgomery, Alabama, at the end of October to follow the civil rights journey in the South. We went on the trip to confront ourselves with the history of slavery and lynching in our country, as well as learn about the civil rights movement. The trip was organized by Edgar 36, a Jewish-led organization whose mission is dedicated to developing citizens' political voices. On our first day in Montgomery, we went to the Equal Justice Initiative Museum and the Lynching Memorial. The Equal Justice Initiative Museum was interactive. There are 2 rooms in particular that stood out to me. These rooms were about jailing and children getting death sentences. In the jail room, there were holograms of actors playing prisoners. They would talk to visitors and ask for help, but there was nothing that you could do. In the room where it discussed children getting death sentences, the room was set up so that the visitor was surrounded by the kids' letters to their teachers, talking about how scared they were. After we went to the Equal Justice Initiative Museum, we went to the Lynching Memorial. The Lynching Memorial was all outside. There were metal blocks that were the size of a standard coffin. They were hanging down from the ceiling, and the names of the counties in Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Louisiana were inscribed, in addition to the name and date of who and when the lynching happened. As he kept walking down the path, the sculptures got suspended higher and higher in the air, representing the process of a lynching. These were 2 very powerful exhibits. After we left Montgomery, Alabama, we went to Selma to meet Joanne Bland. Joanne grew up in Selma. She was 3 years old when she lost her mother and unborn brother because of insufficient access to proper medical care. Joanne and her older sisters were taken in by her grandma, who was a part of the Dallas Voter League, whose members at the time were fighting for voting rights for Black people. As we walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, she told us how even 56 years later, after the march, she is still haunted by the sound of a woman's head hitting the pavement because she was struck down by a policeman on horseback. Another person who left an impression on us was Bishop Woods. We met Bishop Woods on our last day of our trip. Bishop Woods is currently the bishop at the 16th Street Baptist Church, where in 1963, 4 young girls, Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, Carol Robertson, who were 14, and Carol Denise McNair, who was 11, died when the church was bombed by the Ku Klux Klan. Bishop Woods told us that when he was marching in a protest, a fire hose was set on him, and he got attacked by a dog. During our time with him, we sang songs that the Freedom Marchers sang, including This Little Light of Mine and Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around. When we sang these songs, we felt powerful and that we could take on whatever came to us. When we met Bishop Woods, we got a walk in the neighborhood where Dr. King grew up. Today we got to see his house and the Ebenezer Baptist Church, where his father preached. Today we remember the amazing work that Dr. King has done for this country. Dr. King once said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character." Dr. King's aspirations are what we still are striving for today. Having the opportunity to understand the context for the significance of Joanne's crossing the bridge and her grandmother's fight for voting rights, and having the opportunity to trace these extraordinary people was both an honor and a privilege that I do not take for granted. These heroes marched along with Dr. King. Their courage, their fight for justice, and their vision left an undeniable mark on my heart and mind. As we left Selma, Joanne Bland looked at every one of us and said, "You are history makers. Your piece in the puzzle, whether it's the first piece or the last piece, is the most important piece." I invite you to join me and everyone who went on this trip in continuing to build on this puzzle together. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.